Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balava Giribaradhari Vijana Balava Giribaradhari Gopi Jana Balava Giribaradhari Vijana Balava Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Randana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Sodanandana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jayam Vishnupad Paramahangsa Parivrajak Charis Tatis Shisamad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Sri Caitanya Caritamrita Ki Sri Sri Radha Radhanath Ki Sri Giri Govardhan Ki Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Sankirtan Yagya Ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to their Samo devotees. All glories to their Samo devotees. All glories to their Samo devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Nama Om Vishnupada Krishna Presta Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyachadeshatarne Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakapatarubhyascha kripas sindhubhyevacha Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Caitanya Caritamrita ki jai. Hare Krishna devotees, we are reading today from Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, Madhya Lila chapter 16, the Lord's attempt to go to Vrindavan. And I think just for the sake of continuity and sort of, what would you say, the organicness of it all, we're going to begin with verse 100. I think actually we had gone on a few verses past 100, but it's the beginning of this, like a new story within the chapter, and it's pretty amazing actually. So we'll start at the beginning of it. Katake asya kaila gopala darshana swapneshwara viprakaila prabhura nimantrana. We talked about swapna, didn't we? That's right, I remember. Yeah, we talked about that a little. After reaching the city of Katak, he saw the temple of Gopal and a Brahmin there named Swapneshwara invited the Lord to eat. The Lord of Dreams, I guess. So there's a book called Swapna Vilas. Small book, but a book by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It's very nice. Srimati Radharani, and her pastimes in dreams with Krishna. Ramananda Raya Sabha Gana Nimantrila Bahira Udyane Asi Prabhu Vasa Kaila. Ramananda Roy invited all the others for their meals, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made his resting place in a garden outside the temple. Bhikshakari Bakula Tale Karila Vishrama Prataparudra Tani Raya Karila Payana. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taking rest beneath a bakul tree, Ramananda Roy immediately went to Maharaj Prataparudra. So this is in Katak, north of Jagannath Puri, somewhere, I don't know if it's on the coast or just, it's not far from the coast, but it's north of Puri, and that was actually where Prataparudra, as the ruler, that was where his base was, in Katak, not in Puri. Puri was the festival town with the big temple. But Katak was the capital, where the government was based, for that kingdom, which in those days India was divided up into really a lot, and I mean really a lot, of small kingdoms. I'm sure there's numbers compiled somewhere how many kingdoms, but there was really a lot of little kingdoms, which, anyway, okay. So, all right, 102. So, while Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taking rest beneath a bakul tree, Ramananda Roy immediately went to Maharaj Prataparudra. Shuni Anandita Raja Ati Shigra Aila Prabhu Deki Dandavat Bhumete Padila. That's where we stopped. Repetition of a good thing is good. The king was very happy to hear the news, and he hastily went there. Upon seeing the Lord, he fell flat to offer him obeisances. Puna ute, puna pade, pranaya vivala, stutikare pulakanga, pade ashru jala. Being overwhelmed with love, the king again and again got up and fell down. When he offered prayers, his whole body shivered, and tears fell from his eyes. Tanra Bhakti Deki Prabhur Tushtahaila Mana Uti Mahaprabhu Tanre Kaila Alingana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to see the devotion of the king, and he therefore stood up and embraced him. Punastuti Kari Raja Karaya Pranama Prabhu Kripa Ashrute Tanra Deha Haila Snana. When the Lord embraced the king again and again offered prayers and obeisances. In this way, the Lord's mercy brought tears from the king, and the Lord's body was bathed with these tears. And we did mention last week, I actually recall, how we told the story of the first, not meetings even, but the first times that Maharaj Prataparudra was anywhere near Lord Chaitanya. Actually, the king was a great devotee already, and when he understood, Lord Chaitanya came, and gradually it became clear to everyone around that this Chaitanya is really special. He's like the greatest person spiritually in Puri. So the king became aware of that, and as a great devotee and just a very humble and sincere soul, he really wanted to get the association of Lord Chaitanya, but Lord Chaitanya refused. If you remember, we explained that Lord Chaitanya said that he wouldn't meet him, the king, because the king was a pound and shillings man. Yes, pounds and shillings man. And Lord Chaitanya, but Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was, what was he? He's like, sort of like the guru or the priest, something approximately guru or priest, or in that sort of, roughly that category at least. Sarvabhauma would try to, very nicely of course, encourage, let us say encourage, or even push Lord Chaitanya a little, that come on, meet with him, he's such a nice devotee. And Lord Chaitanya got really upset. And Lord Chaitanya said, if you ask me to meet with him one more time, then you will never see me again. Means he would leave Puri. In those days, people didn't move around much. And that would have been it. He would have just gone. So that was a bit of a shock for the devotees who understood that the king was actually a very nice devotee. But then, during the Rath Yatra festival, the Lord went into which garden? Jagannath Vallabha garden. We discussed this, didn't we? And took rest. And those same devotees who had been trying to encourage Lord Caitanya to meet him, but, the Lord got on their case so heavily, they just stopped. So they arranged that Prataparudra go in, dressed as an ordinary person, just one of the festival people, like a village person. And he went in there and read the prayers of the gopis to Krishna, which are there in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Such beautiful prayers. Tava Catamritam, Tapta Jivanam. Something. What? Huh? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh, well, okay. Approximately. Anyway, better than me. So, and Lord Caitanya, in this deeply ecstatic mood of meeting with Krishna as Jagannath in the whole pastime of Rath Yatra, of going to Kurukshetra and meeting again with the Brijbasis, particularly the gopis. Lord Caitanya appreciated so much. And even though he was kind of exhausted from dancing wildly, we don't have so many wild dancers here, do we? Or Raghunath Bhatta, I suppose, but he's in quarantine. And Arjunacharya when he gets into it. Lord Caitanya had been just wildly dancing. It was really extreme. So he was exhausted and he lay down. But when he heard these prayers written by Prataparudra, he sat up and embraced him and thanked him. And what did he say? Burida, Burida, you are the most munificent. Burida, Burida. Because you're distributing this beautiful, loving Krishna consciousness. So then the Lord's attitude towards Prataparudra changed. And now they're meeting, at some later time. And Lord Caitanya, there in that pastime, in the middle of the Rath Yatra festival, the Lord didn't know it was the king. He thought it's just some devotee, nice devotee. But now here is the king, and he is the king. He's, just in his kingly sort of mode of presentation. But still, Lord Caitanya, when he sees him, he gets up and goes and embraces him voluntarily, even knowing it's the king. Let's see, okay. 107. Sustakari Ramananda Rajare Vasaila Kaya Manavakye Prabhu Tanre Kripa Kaila. Finally, Ramananda Roy pacified the king and made him sit down. The Lord bestowed mercy upon him through his body, mind, and words. Aiche tanhare kripa kaila gora raya prata parudra santrata namahayala yaya. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu showed such mercy to the king that from that day on, the Lord became known as Prataparudra Santrata, the deliverer of Maharaj Prataparudra. Rajapatra Ganakaila Prabhura Vandana Rajare Vidya Dila Sachira Nandana. All the governmental officers also paid their respects to the Lord. And finally, the king and his men were bade farewell by the son of Mother Sachi. Bahire Asiraja Agya Patra Deka Ila Nija Raje Yata Vishai Tahare Pataila. The Lord then went outside and had orders written down and sent to the government servants within his kingdom. Grame, Nutana, Avasa, Kariba, Panchashata, Navya Grihe, Samagre, Bariba. His orders read, in every village you should construct new residences, and in 5 or 7 new houses you should store all kinds of food. Pancha Sata Navya Grihe. In 5 or 7 new houses. Apani Prabhuke Lana Tahan Uttariba Ratri Deba Vetra Haste Sevaya Rahiba. So this is the king. Yeah, this is the king. You should personally take the Lord to these newly constructed houses. Day and night, you should engage in his service with a stick in your hand. Stick in the hand. Not quite sure why, but maybe to chase away if there are any undesirables. Dui Mahapatra Hari Chandan Mardaraja Tanre Agya Dila Raja Kariha Saravakaya. The king ordered 2 respectable officers named Harichandan and Mardaraja to do whatever was necessary to carry out these orders. Ekanavya Nauka Ani Rakaha Naditire Yahan Snari Kari Prabhu Yana Nadi Pare Tahan Stamba Ropanakara Mahatirthakari Nityasnana Kariba Tahan Tahan Yena Mari. The Lord, well, it's amazing, you know, the devotion of the king. It's really amazing. The king also ordered them to maintain a new boat on the banks of the river, and wherever Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu took his bath or crossed to the other side of the river, they should establish a memorial column and make that place a great place of pilgrimage. Indeed, said the king, I will take my bath there, and let me also die there. Chaturdware Karaha Uttam Nava Vasa Ramananda Yahatume Mahaprabhu Pasha. The king continued, at Chaturdwara, please construct new residential quarters. Now, Ramananda, you can return to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Because Ramananda was working under Prataparudra, and he was sort of something like prime minister or something along those lines. Really, really important portfolio in the government of King Prataparudra. But after Ramananda Roy met Lord Caitanya, I forget where it was, but down there in South India somewhere, then Ramananda became just so overwhelmed with the desire just to be with Lord Caitanya 24 hours a day, that he wanted to give up his government service, but he couldn't do it immediately. But here now, the king is giving him permission that you just stay with Lord Caitanya, that's all. And don't worry about the government. Sandhyate chalibe prabhu nripati shanila hasti upar tambugrihe strigane chadaila. When the king heard that the Lord was leaving that evening, he immediately made arrangements for some elephants with small tents on their backs to be brought there. Then all the ladies of the palace got on the elephants. Prabhura Chalibara Pate Rahisarihana Sandhyate Chalila Prabhu Nijagana Lana. All these ladies went to the road the Lord was taking and remained there in a line. That evening, the Lord departed with his devotees. Chitrotpala Nadi Asi Gate Kailasnana Mahishi Sakala Deki Kariye Pranama. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the bank of the river Chitrotpala to take his bath, all the queens and ladies of the palace offered their obeisances to him. Prabhura darshane sabe, haila prema maya, Krishna Krishna kahe netra, ashru virashaya. Upon seeing the Lord, they all felt themselves overwhelmed with love of Godhead, and tears pouring from their eyes, they began to chant the holy name, Krishna, Krishna. What did they do?
Krishna, Krishna.
Oh, not like that. Come on, what did they do? Krishna, Krishna. More like that. Emana kripalu nahi, shuni tribhuvane. Krishna prema haya yanra, dura darashane. There is no one as merciful as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu within all three worlds. Simply by seeing him from a distance, one is overwhelmed with love of Godhead. Naukate Chadiya Prabhu Haila Nadi Para Jots Navati Ratre Chali Aila Chatur Dwara. The Lord then got into a new boat and crossed the river. Walking in the full moonlight, he finally reached the town known as Chatur Dwara. Ratre tata rahi prate, snana kritya kaila, hena kale jagannatira, mahaprasada aila. The Lord spent the night there and in the morning took his bath. At that time, remnants of Lord Jagannath's food arrived. Mahaprasada. Jagannathira Mahaprasada. Aila arrived. Rajara Agyaya Padicha pataya dine dine, bahuta prasada patai, dia bahujane. Following the king's orders, the superintendent of the temple sent large quantities of prasadam every day, and it was carried by many persons. What's your favorite Jagannath Mahaprasad? Which sabji? Oh, what's your favorite Jagannath Mahaprasad? You haven't been to Puri? Oh, okay. Because they don't serve paneer. I'll tell you, my favorite is the sweet chana dal. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. Ha. Swagana sahite Prabhu, prasada ankari, Uttiya chalila Prabhu, Bali hari hari. After accepting the prasadam, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu stood up and started to go, chanting the holy names, Hari, Hari. Which holy names?
Hari, Hari.
Oh, come on. Hari, Hari.
Hari, Hari.
More like that. Ramananda Mardaraja Sri Harichandan Sange Seva Karichale Aitina Jana. Ramananda Roy Mardaraj and Sri Harichandan always went with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and rendered various services. 127 to 129. Prabhu Sange Puri Gosani Swarupa Damadara Jagadananda Mukunda Govinda Kashishvara Haridasa Thakur Ara Pandit Vakreshvara Gopinath Acharya Ara Pandita Damadara Ramai Nandai Ara Bahu Ramai Nandai Ara Bahu Bhaktagana Pradana Kahilun Sabara Kekare Ganana Paramananda Puri Gosani Sarup Damada Jagadananda Mukunda Govinda Kashishvara Haridas Thakur Vakreshvara Pandit Gopinath Acharya Damada Pandit Ramai Nandai and many other devotees accompanied the Lord. I've mentioned only the chief devotees. No one can describe the total number. Gadadhara Pandita Yabe, Sangate Chalila, Kshetra Sanyasa Na Chadiha, Prabhu Nishetila. Ooh, Nishade. Yeah, he refused. When Gadadhar Pandit started to go with the Lord, he was forbidden to come and was asked not to give up the vow of Kshetra Sannyas. So there's a purport here by Srila Prabhupada. When one takes Kshetra Sannyas, he leaves his household life and goes to a place of pilgrimage devoted to Lord Vishnu. Such places include Purushottam, Jagannath Puri, Navadvip Dham and Mathura Dham. The Kshetra Sannyasi lives in these places alone or with his family. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur considers Kshetra Sannyas to be the preferable Vanaprastha situation in this age of Kali. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya lived in this way, and he has been called a Kshetra Sannyasi. That is, a sannyasi living in Jagannath Puri. And Gadadhar was also. he was a Kshetra, Gadadha was a Kshetra sannyas, living in Puri. Pandita kahe yahan tumi, sei nilachala, Kshetra sannyasa mora, yauka rasatala. When he was requested to return to Jagannath Puri, Gadadha Pandit told the Lord, wherever you are staying is Jagannath Puri. Let my so-called Kshetra sannyas go to hell. Okay. Prabhu kahe inha kara, Gopinath sevana, Pandita kahe, Koti seva, Twatpada darshana. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Gadadha Pandit to remain at Jagannath Puri and engage in Gopinath service, Gadadha Pandit replied, one renders service to Gopinath 1,000,000 times simply by seeing your lotus feet. So he's getting into it. Normally Gadadha, he's in a very submissive mood before Lord Chaitanya. Actually, Gadadha is Radharani, but Lord Chaitanya is also Radharani. Hare Krishna. Lord Chaitanya is combined Radha and Krishna, but predominant is Radharani. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya is predominantly in the mood of a devotee. So here you have Radharani in two forms together debating what to do. And Radharani, well, we mentioned Gadadha is generally very submissive. But yeah, Gadadha is very submissive, but Srimati Radharani is not. She is very, what would you say? Well, you could say different things. Well, you could say she's very playful, but in the play, sometimes she's very forceful. Sometimes she's very forceful. So, and sometimes she chastises Krishna. And sometimes she tells him, just go away. Yeah. As we go through, we'll come across places like that in Caitanya Caritamrita. But, like I said, they're both Radharani, although Lord Chaitanya's Krishna and Radharani, but Radharani is predominant and strong. And Gadadha is Radharani, but not strong. Gadadha never gets on Lord Chaitanya's case. No. He's always very humble and submissive, and if Lord Chaitanya tells him, do this, then immediately, yes. Therefore, sometimes some devotees say that Gadadha is Radharani, definitely, but minus the duty, Radha duty, the effulgence. And Lord Chaitanya stole the effulgence. The effulgence meaning that sort of very more dramatic aspect of the nature. All right. Prabhu kahe seva chadibe, Amaya lage dosha. Inarahi sevakara. Amara santosha. Dosha and santosha. You understand those terms? You understand? Dosha and santosha. Dosha means fault, and santosha means satisfaction. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then said, if you abandon his service, it will be my fault. It is better that you remain here and render service. That will be my satisfaction. So, they've gone some distance already. They're in Katak, or maybe they've even gone slightly past Katak. And Gadadha is still with Lord Chaitanya. Puri is back, I don't know if it's 100 kilometers or what it is exactly, but it's something a little far. So, but they're still within the kingdom of Prataparudra, and therefore Lord Chaitanya is basically accepting that Gadadha has not yet abandoned the service to Gopinath. Pandita kahe sabadosha amara upara toma sange na yaiba yaiba ekashwara. The Pandit replied, the Pandit, Gadadha Pandit, do not worry, all the faults will be on my head. I shall not accompany you, but shall go alone. Still going to go, but sort of take some parallel path or something. Aike dekite yaiba na, yaiba toma lagi, pratigya seva tyaga dosha, tara ami bagi. I shall go to see, this is Gadadha continuing, I shall go to see Sachimata, but I shall not go for your sake. I shall be responsible for the abandoning of my vow and service to Gopinath. He's getting into it so heavily. Etabali Pandita Gosani Pritak Chalil Katak Asi Prabhu Tanre Sange Anaila. Thus Gadadha Pandit Goswami traveled alone. But when they all arrived at Katak, I guess they were approaching Katak, although previously it said something about them. It seemed they had arrived there. Anyway, when they all arrived at Katak, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called him and he went into the Lord's company. Panditya Gauranga Prema Bhujana Nayaya Pratigya Sri Krishna Seva Chadila Trina Praya. No one can understand the loving intimacy between Gadadha Pandit and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gadadha Pandit gave up his vow and service to Gopinath, just as one gives up a piece of straw. And there's a short purport here. Just to get Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's association, Gadadha Pandit gave up his life's vow to engage in Gopinath's service. This kind of loving affection can be understood only by very confidential devotees. Ordinarily, no one can understand its purport. Tanhara Charitre Prabhu, Antare Santosha, Tanhara Hate Dari Kahe, Kari Pranaya Rosha. Gadadha Pandit's behavior was very pleasing to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heart. Nevertheless, the Lord took his hand and spoke to him, displaying the anger of love. Pratigya seva chadibe, e tomara udesha, se siddha haila chadi, aila durda desha. You have abandoned Gopinath's service and broken your vow to live in Puri. All that is now complete because you have come so far. So he's broken his vow of Kshetra Sannyas. Amara Sange Rahite Chaha Vanchanicha Sukha Toma Dui Dharma Yaya Amara Haya Dukkha. Your wanting to go along with me is simply a desire for sense gratification. In this way, you're breaking two religious principles, and because of this, I'm very unhappy. So, the desire to be with Lord Chaitanya is sense gratification. Anyway, that's their pastime. Morasuka, Chahayadi, Nila Chale Chala, Amara Sapata Yadi, Arakichu Bala. If you want my happiness, please return to Nila Chala. You will simply condemn me if you say any more about this matter. Etabali Mahaprabhu, Naukate Chadila, Murchita Hana Pandita, Tatai Padila. Saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got into a boat, and Gadadha Pandit immediately fell down unconscious. It's amazing. Let's read a few more verses. Pandite lana yaite, sarvabhome agyadila, bhattacharya kahe uta, aiche prabhura lila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to take Gadadha Pandit with him back to Jagannath Puri. The Bhattacharya told Gadadha Pandit, "Get up." Such are the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tumi jana Krishna nija, pratigya chadila, bhakta kripa vase bijmer, pratigya rakila. You should know that Lord Krishna himself violated his own promise just to keep the promise of grandfather Bhishma. Swanigamam apahaya mat pratigyam, ritam adikartam avapluto rata sta, drita rata charano bhyayach chalad goa, haririva hantomibham gatota tarila. Intending to make my promise true, Lord Krishna broke his own promise not to take up a weapon at Kurukshetra. With his outer garment falling off, Lord Sri Krishna jumped from his chariot, picked up a wheel, and came running at me to kill me. Indeed, he rushed at me like a lion going to kill an elephant, and he caused the whole earth to tremble. Purport: Lord Krishna promised not to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra or even take up a weapon, But when Bhishma wanted to keep his own promise, to break the promise of the Lord immediately got down from the chariot. And to make Bhishma's promise true, he picked up a chariot wheel and rushed forward to kill him. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.9.37. E mata Prabhu Toma Vicheda Sahiya Tomara Pratigya Raksha Kaila Yatna Kariya. Similarly, tolerating separation from you, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has protected your vow with great endeavor. Okay. Hey mata Caitanya Praboda Karila Dui Jane Shoka Kula Nila Chale Aila. In this way, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya revived Gadadhar Pandit. Then both of them, very much grief-stricken, returned to Jagannath Puri, Nilachala. Prabhu Lagi Dharma Karama Chade Bhaktagana Bhakta Dharma Hani Prabhu Nahaya Sahana. All the devotees would abandon all kinds of duties for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sake. Yet the Lord did not like the devotees giving up their promised duties. Listen to this, devotees. Are you ready? Are you awake? Are you with us? Premiera vivarta iha, shune ye jana, achire milie tanre, Chaitanya Charana. All these are the misgivings of loving affairs. Whoever listens to these incidents gets the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet very soon, as long as you were awake. Even if you're not, it goes in, the air is always open, but it's much better if you are really focused. Hare Krishna. Any comment or question? Yes.
And it's a comment. Just as the sun rotates for the benefit of all living entities, so the spiritual master traverses the world for the benefit of all living entities. So today is Father's Day.
Oh yeah, today is Father's Day.
So I want to thank you for being our spiritual father.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for being a nice spiritual daughter. Okay? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.